Well, some of the dramatic moments from the new film, The Trial of the Chicago 7, written and directed by Aaron Sorkin. It focuses on the 1969 conspiracy trial of anti-Vietnam War protesters in the United States, including Abby Hoffman. The historical legal drama opens on Netflix today. Well, with that, let's bring in our film critic, Eli Glasner, with more on this one. Eli, nice to see you. You know, interesting timing for a story like this. Where does this film actually begin, Eli?
There are so many characters in that Chicago 7, so it begins with introduction. So you get a sense of this was like the Avengers of activists and protesters. So many different people from different walks of life who all came together, as you said, to be in Chicago to call for the end for the war in Vietnam. So there you go. Tommy, played by Eddie Redmayne, the leader of the student protesters. You have Jerry Rubin and Abby Hoffman. There they are, the Yippies. You had Bobby Seale, co-founder of the Black Panthers. You had pacifists and students, and they're all together for the same purpose of stopping the war, but there's the government looking to make an example of them. And so although in the trailer you see the protest and how things started to go wrong, the film itself really much begins in the courtroom with that's really where the battle is, to try and find the Chicago 7 guilty and send them away. They are looking at very serious jail time, and so already you start to see this group fraying at the edges. I mean, some like Abby Hoffman there, they want to use this as a stage. They want to push for the cause. Others are worried about their future and being behind bars. Let's take a look.
If we leave here without saying anything about why we came in the first place, it'll be heartbreaking.
If the jury finds us guilty, we're not going to be leaving here at all. And the only thing we need to say about why we came here is it wasn't incite violence.
I'm with Jerry.
Why?
The trial shouldn't be about us.
I would love it if it wasn't about us, but it definitely is.
So there you go. I mean, I got to point out, I just finished watching Succession, where Jeremy Strong has this amazing performance as Kendall Roy. To see him become that bearded, there he is, kind of hippie Jerry Rubin, and such a different kind of gregarious, goofy presence really speaks to his range. But I think the through line there, and what you always get with Strong's performance, is the sense of conviction, regardless of the
Yeah, but as well, he's just part of an impressive cast when you talk about this movie. So who else stood out for you?
What's great about a Sorkin script is that everybody gets their moment. So even someone like John Carroll Lynch, he plays the pacifist, but he's very much worried about appearing in court, looking into the eyes of his son and his wife who are watching. Eddie Redmayne as Tommy, the leader of the students. He comes off as righteous, but he's a little more slippery. He's worried more about self-preservation. It's not as flattering, perhaps, a portrayal. And then the lawyer for this group is Mark Rylance, playing the civil rights attorney. Now, Rylance, you know him from movies like Bridge of Spies and Dunkirk. He just ebbs moral virtue. Something about his face, he has this aura. You put Tom Hanks next to him, he would look like a supervillain, and he is trying to defend the Chicago 7, but actually it's the Chicago 8, because they have lumped in Bobby Seale, who was the co-founder of the Black Panthers, who was only in Chicago for about 4 hours, and yet he's part of the charges, even though Bobby doesn't have a lawyer because his lawyer is sick. Here is Mark Rylance as the attorney trying to make that clear to the judge. Take a look.
If I understand, Mr. Seale, this last month and a half, and I believe I have, he is not represented by counsel.
Overruled.
I am being denied right
Mr.
now
Seale,
my constitutional
will you be quiet?
right for
Will
legal
you?
representation.
Will you be quiet? You have lawyers to speak for you.
No, he doesn't.
I've never heard those kind of sounds come out of Mark Rylance. A remarkable moment there. Frank Langella as the judge himself. Yahya Abdul, the Mateen II as Bobby Seale. And we haven't even gotten to Sasha Baron Cohen. Yes, Borat as Abby Hoffman. Now, you need to understand, Hoffman for his time was like the Jack Nicholson of civil disobedience. He was like this court jester. He knew how to work the room, work the media, very effective comedian and communicator. And I think that's what makes Sasha Baron Cohen such an excellent choice as Abby Hoffman, the author of Steal This Book, who could be very funny, but certainly was also very savvy on the witness stand. Take a look at this cross-examination with Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the prosecutor, asking him, did you go to Chicago to incite violence?
Well, if I'd known it was going to be the first wish of mine that came true, I would have aimed a lot higher.
It's a yes or no question. When you came to Chicago, were you hoping for a confrontation with the police? I'm concerned you have to think about it.
Give me a moment, would you, friend? I've never been on trial for my thoughts before.
So some very powerful stuff from Cohen, and some are even talking about a little bit of Oscar traction there. Hard for me to think of the Oscars as I broadcast from my basement, but they are talking about it.
Yeah, well, speaking of Oscars, we know that Aaron Sorkin has won an Oscar for his writing. We know he's received a number of awards for his writing, but here he is now directing. How was he at that?
Serviceable. I don't think people are going to get excited about his direction. He directs this film with all the flair of like a mid-budget TV movie. So the costumes are good. It looks fine. I think really where he saves his innovation for, his flair, is in the telling, in the storytelling. That whole idea of beginning in the court, slowly showing how the divisions are festering, and then slowly teasing out these moments you see of the protest, where it went wrong, where it devolved into riots, who actually called for blood. And so it's very smart the way he spools that out. And look, this is the guy, we see him directing there, but he's also the person who had his typewriter typed, "You can't handle the truth." He wrote You Good Men. He knows his way around a courtroom drama. And yes, you look at the footage here, you think of real events. There's not a lot of gray here. The judge is biased, the case is trumped up, and the defendants are certainly virtuous. But, in this era where it feels like truth can be a casualty of war and opinion rules the day, I really enjoyed being able to have 2 hours in this arena of ideas, of exploring the limits of the government's power as they tried to fabricate this conspiracy. That's really what makes it worth it, and that's 4 stars out of 5.
Okay, well, I think you just determined my Friday night, Eli. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. All right, Eli Glasner.